Hello and welcome back to my channel. This video is part of a series here at International Yankee English, where we will talk about how to write well, Writing Wednesday. You will learn everything from what academic English is, to how to write a thesis statement, to how to edit and proofread. So be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. And let's get into today's video.
In today's video, we will look at academic sources. So, why do you need academic sources? You need to show that the information you present is valid and factual, reliable, meaning it is consistent and trustworthy, and that it is based in science and research rather than your own opinion. For this video, we are assuming that you know what an academic source is. If not, press pause and Google it. If you would like a video on that subject, please leave a comment below. The biggest question my students have is, where do I find my academic sources? The first stop should always be your library. This could be a local library, or it could be your school's library. Most university libraries will grant students free access to a wide range of scholarly journals and articles, and use of multiple different databases. So be sure to ask your librarian or to check out your school's website if you need help gaining access. Always a student favorite is Google Scholar. Students love Google Scholar because you can access full articles for free online without having to log in and remember passwords, etc. Though it is a great source and I do encourage all students make use of it, many students fall into a pitfall where they use only Google Scholar and they cannot find enough sources for their research. So be sure to use this as only one of your places to look and not the only place to look. Which brings us to the last tip. Start with secondary sources before you move on to primary sources. Start by Googling your topic and trying to find some key terms or tags that are related to your topic at hand. It is always useful to simply look at Wikipedia as a starting place, though never use this as a source in your paper. Once you have a basic understanding, move on to blogs, websites, and news articles. Then you can go on to the secondary sources in academic journals, for example, articles, and then review the citations that those articles have that can bring you to primary sources such as textbooks or really in-depth studies. There are 3 ways to use sources in your paper. You can paraphrase, summarize, or quote. A paraphrase is your own interpretation of the essence of the source. You really put it in your own words. Summarizing is the main idea or the main points of the source that you are citing. So you're simply saying what the source is about. And quoting is a direct quote, so word for word, verbatim, what the original author has written in the original source. Most of your in-text citations will be paraphrases, where you use your own words to interpret and touch on the sources that you have used as you are presenting your own ideas and arguments. Summarizing can be confusing for some students because they can't tell the difference between paraphrasing and summarizing. You only use summarizing if you're presenting facts or statistics or some general information that is important that the reader knows exactly how it was presented in the original text. You still use your own words to do this unless you are using a direct quote, which brings us to direct quotations rather than summaries. One major difference between paraphrasing and summarizing compared to direct quotation is that you have the quotation marks before and after the start of your direct quotation. You use word for word exactly what the author has written in the original source. You only do this if it is significant and specific or memorable in some way where it makes sense to not change the original author's words at all. You want to do this sparingly, usually not more than 10% of your entire paper's length, because the reader is coming to your paper for your point of view, not somebody else's. Why should they read your paper instead of the original author's if you're just going to use so many different direct quotes from the original author? So be sure that direct quotes are simply enhancing your own ideas and thoughts in your paper. The third bullet point here is that it requires analysis. When something is controversial or complicated, then you want to perhaps analyze the exact quote from the original author in your paper. Then you can provide some elaboration and some critical analysis on your own behalf after presenting the original wording. It is also useful to use a reputable source's exact words if they support your main argument or idea very well. And lastly, if the original source quote is very concise but yet detailed at the same time, it is handy at times to use the original wording instead of your amateur wording. Just be sure not to overuse these direct quotes. Now, what is a reference list versus an in-text citation? A reference in the reference list is a list of your sources or references that you either consulted, meaning that you looked at and used in some way, or that you cited, that you mention in the text to support an idea or thought. An in-text citation is the use of the source within the body of your text. Depending on which style guide you are following, APA, MLA, etc., and your teacher's instructions, make sure that you find out whether you need to include both works consulted and works cited, or just works cited. So let's talk about how to use your in-text citation. Always introduce and integrate your citations into your paper, rather than simply saying something that requires a source and then plopping the in-text citation reference in terms of the author name and year in parentheses behind what you have stated. So you should start by using a signal phrase, such as according to, as stated by, studies show, and then follow it up with your direct quote, your paraphrase, or your summary, and then put your citation at the end. You can see in the example citations provided here from an APA style, which is similar to Harvard, very different in a lot of ways from MLA. You can see here that all three start with a signal phrase, followed by the comment that needs to be cited, and then the actual citation after that. You see in the first of these three examples, the name, the year, and then because it is a direct quote, the page number. But you can also change it up, as is seen in the third example, that the year is provided earlier and then the page number after the quote, and the name does not need to be in parentheses or brackets because it is stated already at the beginning of the citation. Please note that the source for this is the European Studies Writing Database at the Hague University of Applied Sciences. Next week we will cover an important topic, thesis statements. Learn what a thesis statement is, what the different kinds are, and how to write one. Thank you for watching today's video as part of our Writing Wednesday series here at International Yankee English. I also post weekly videos every Saturday called Study Saturday. I have a Facebook support group. I run free conversation classes every month on Zoom, and I also am launching my official website as well as Patreon account where you can get different levels of English support, varying from minor extra worksheets and support exercises all the way through to full-on ebooks, online courses, discounts on private lessons, etc. So be sure to check that all out. If you haven't, I will have links below in the description box. And I hope to see you next time at either Study Saturday or Writing Wednesday. Bye!